All right, well, let's do our official kickoff then. Welcome, everybody. We have a global audience today. My name is Nikki Weiss, and I will put my LinkedIn profile in the chat. And feel free, everybody. This is an opportunity not just to learn, but to connect as well. We're trying to build a community. And we have a global community, which is amazing opportunity here. Now, fun fact, Rachel and I, which I'll introduce you, we both have the same last name, but we are not related. It is a common Weiss last name. But so just know that Rachel and I met just a few months ago, and we just had this special connection and passion for creating AI applications. Now, we come from different backgrounds. I come from a project management background, and Rachel, she'll introduce herself as an instructional design expert. But when we were talking, and we have already built one community, the one community we'll talk more about, which is Women Build AI. But we realized as we were building our Women Build AI community, we realized that the instructional design community, you folks are really on the forefront and have an opportunity to put your finger on this technology to change the way you work in a way that probably next to like just program professionals, engineers, and designers. But I think that instructional designers, the opportunity for you folks to leverage this technology is probably untapped. And so Rachel and I really saw that opportunity and wanted to offer this free 90-minute session just to not just to teach you, but also to learn from you. What is it you feel you need? How can we better support you as a community through, learning Claude Code, project managing, how to get your product to market, as well as within your organization. And so from there, I just am so excited that we have a large group of people that are going to be joining us, that you've given piece of your Sunday to spend time with us. And with that, let me go ahead and introduce Rachel. And Rachel, let me ask you, where were you just under 2 years ago, and what got you to Claude Code in this space?
Yeah, thanks, Vicky. So a couple of years ago, less than a couple of years ago, I was actually teaching. And although I enjoyed being in a classroom and the kids, it wasn't really working for me. And I'm sure a lot of people, other instructional designers have that same story. So I found out about instructional design and I got into it and I got really, really deep into storyline. Um, and that was about the same time that ChatGPT was really starting to catch on. I started following ChatGPT and I watched a lot of TikToks and I went on social media and saw what people are doing. And I kind of just stayed on top of it. And I realized, oh, we can do vibe coding and make the engagement a lot more fun. A lot of our instructional design materials are actually PowerPoints. I don't know if any of you have experienced that. Anybody with the PowerPoints? There's so
Yeah.
many. There's so many PowerPoints. There's so many Rise courses. And I remember Rise being such a novelty, and now it kind of almost just, it's great. It's fantastic. But in terms of interaction and engagement, it's still missing that. And so anyways, so this vibe coding, what we're able to do now, what we have access to, really allows us to create engaging, fun, interactive experiences for our learners, which really helps with that retainment, really gets them to learn the material so that when they go to their job or whatever they may be doing, they're actually going to remember what they learned, which is a huge improvement. And
And so what was it? So how much time have you been spending? When did you actually meet Claude and start spending more time with Claude than with Netflix?
It was a bit of a blur. It kind of just happened. I remember hearing about Anthropic and not even really putting it together. And then it just kind of, came bigger and bigger. But really, it's just about me sitting with my Claude and asking a lot of questions. And I think that's the difference between actually building and still learning about building, right? It's really just like sitting with your chat GPT, sitting with your Claude, sitting with your Claude Code, sitting with Perplexity, whatever it is that you decide, whether it be Manus or, all the Grok, sitting with it, talking to it, asking questions, start building immediately. Even if you don't know how to, because all it is talking to your AI. And the more you talk to it, it may say some things you don't understand. So say, hey, explain it to me. Help me out here. You're going to be surprised how quickly you learn and how much you could do. It's been really amazing in that
You know,
experience.
when I'm instructing people and empowering them to build a relationship with AI, they're a bit shocked. Some people are still using AI like Google, and it's really a mindset and it's a mind shift that artificial intelligence is an infrastructure. It's not a tool. And that we need to be working with artificial intelligence and building what we call a relationship.
Yeah.
Just it is um, Microsoft already coined it. It is a coworker. I mean, or a coworker from Claude, Copilot from Microsoft, but it really is a relationship. And the relationship, it takes time. It takes a lot of communication and also is going to take a lot of patience. So, Rachel, for you, when you started to talk to Claude, was it smooth sailing right away? And your
No, it
video is
wasn't.
off. Whoop, your
It
video's off.
wasn't. There's a learning curve. And so we just keep trying and trying and trying. And you should have seen my first app, honestly. I thought I had, you know, I thought I cracked the code. I thought I did it. And I remember my brother-in-law telling me, like, listen, this is just the first one. You have a far way to go. And he was right. I don't even know how I thought that was doable or acceptable in any form, way, or function.
Well,
But
listen, just as we're about to kick off,
yeah,
some people don't have this link. So can you go ahead and put the
okay.
emmadesign.ai link workshop, and then we
Yes,
can
I
so go ahead.
I just sent the chat. I put in the chat. If you can see it here, you could also put this URL in there. And before you download it, everybody, I prefer that you make a desktop folder.
So the goal of this session for the next just under 90 minutes right now is that Rachel is going to walk everybody through, and we do have a big crowd here. So this call is being recorded. The recording will be shared with you. So if you get lost, no worries. Just take a deep breath. This is a new skill set. And sometimes, as learning design specialists, sometimes it takes multiple times for the brain to make the neural pathways to be able to sink in. So, with that, just be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with us because this is an opportunity for us to share expertise. And then, but the end of the Rachel, what is it that what is the final deliverable by the end of this session?
Yes. So by the end of the session, my goal is that you have a real playable game that you changed and a link you could send to someone. So, as we were saying, the bar is lower than you think. You don't need to know how to code. You will not read code. You will not write code. If you can describe it in plain English, then you can do this. So, um, really low bar, very simple. It's going to be a great experience.
And so the way we'll run this session is that Rachel is going to be facilitating and driving the screen and walking you through the experience. And then I'll be on chat if you have questions. If you want to raise your hand because you have a specific question, go ahead and do that. If I am not paying attention close enough, just turn yourself off mute and just say, hey, I've got a question. The group is small enough that you can go ahead and do that as well. We really want this to be a meaningful experience and value your time. And with that, Rachel, any questions before we get started, folks? All good. All right,
Okay,
Rachel.
great. So, I want to say before we start too, is I'm doing everything today in VS Code, Visual Studio Code. So we're going to all be looking at that same screen. If you're going to do it from your Claude Code desktop, that is okay too. It stays pretty much the same. You just need to make sure you're working in the folder that we're creating. So before we do anything, I hope that you got to mdesigns.ai workshop Claude Code. You're going to first create a desktop folder. So we're going to go to new, and we are going to create, you can make it a project folder, whatever you want to call it. So let me grab that. I can give you a name as well. You can call it Claude 2D platform or game, whatever you'd like to name it that way. And let's get started. So I'm going to do new folder. I'm going to do Claude project. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to download my project. Now you can also download it from Google Drive. I do have one there if you're having trouble downloading it for any reason, but you should be able to. It's going to go up here to your right corner and you're going to click on your folder, the folder icon. And then once you get it, you can press extract all, or you can right click, extract all. And you're going to look for that folder you just made. I'm going to select that folder and I'm going to extract it. Okay. So this I'm going to keep open. This has my entire starter project in it. We're going to go over a couple things in just a moment, but I want you to take a look at this one, deadline run. This is your HTML. This is where the game is. You do have a functioning game right now. If you, we're not going to open it at this exact moment, but we will be opening it from there. So I do want you to keep this open so that we can get back to it very easily. The first thing I'm going to show you, guys, is what we're building today and what it looks like. So,
And let me ask you a question, Rachel. What made you decide on building Bob's game? What was your, just from a idealization in building out this particular game and functionality?
well, I love, the old school Mario games and things like that. So I thought it'd be fun to make a 2D adventure style game, but also add in a learning element to it. And so this one I did with fishing. You could do HIPAA, you could do pretty much any activity you could think of that would match this. But as I'm about to show you, it makes it a little bit more interactive. So it's not just the regular, oh, hey, here's a multiple choice question. This is apply what you're learning in a real world situation, real world, right? But in a, in an applicable style. So see, the first thing you do is you go to Bob and then he shows you the email. And he's asking you to identify the 3 things that make it a phishing scam. So I clicked on those 3 things. He's going to say, oh no, watch out. It's 4:59. You better let Kate know from HR. Let her know that there's a phishing scam email going on, and so that everybody doesn't click on it. And so you go and you run around, you collect the coins. You'll see up here that we have a little progress bar going. And the more coins you collect, the closer you get to getting a coffee. The coffee is going to give her that energy to get across the rest of the office. These are all very interchangeable things that you can make. Maybe you want to have different types of enemies or different types of game mechanics in it. Totally feasible. So
Wow,
yeah,
Rachel. I mean, how did you come up with this concept? What made you think about you wanted her to jump and to collect coins to get a cup of coffee?
um, my age, just growing up with the Mario, but really I wanted to give her that intrinsic motivation to keep going, right? Like we can't just put a game here and press this, click this. We need to give them a motive. It's 4:59. You have 1 minute to get across the office. You need to tell Kate, hey, this phishing thing is going around. Make sure to warn everybody. Then you let her know, hey, what should you put in the email? Oh, this is the biggest thing that they need to be watching out for. So we're giving them a reason that we're playing it, right? It's not just a game for the sake of a game. We're giving them an intrinsic type of motivation that keeps them going across. Like I was saying, you're going to be modifying this. You can change the dialogue, you can change the background, you can change your avatar, things like that. And we're going to be doing that together during this workshop so that you can make it personalized to how you want it.
Awesome.
So very, very, very cool.
Any
Um,
any questions
yeah,
before Rachel starts to kick off?
Do we need to import GitHub?
you don't. You don't need to do it. GitHub is a great database to keep all your information. You do not need to do that for this. We're keeping it very simple. If
Okay.
at the end you want to be able to send a link, then I will show you Netlify, which is, like I said, a very simple process. But you don't need anything else. You don't really need any installations or dependencies to do this. So we're going to start with the Emma framework, and that is explore, model, modify, and actualize. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to explore our code base. So Claude, when we give, I guess we have to open Visual Studio now that we extracted our folder. So everybody should go to the VS Code. We're going to open our folder. Claude project. We're going to go to terminal and new terminal. So all we did was open VS Code. We opened our folder and then we went to terminal, new terminal. Kaylee, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Was it assets or scenarios that you clicked on in the extraction? Maybe I went
Yeah.
to the wrong
Scenario?
place.
Sorry?
And so you go to, sorry, I'm in VS Code. You open and Claude or whatever the Claude folder is. Is it assets or scenarios? Or you just click the whole thing? Sorry. Okay, thank
Whole
you.
thing, the whole root folder. That was a great question, Kaylee. Thank you. Yes. So you saved it in this root folder, right? Claude project or however you named it, and that's the one you open. And you'll notice that when your terminal opens, which is this block right here, after you go to terminal, new terminal, this is going to read your address, right? It tells me I'm in Claude project now, which is where I put it. Does that make sense?
It
Sorry,
is. And then we
what
had
did you-
another, go ahead.
I think I missed the first step with the Claude project, like going to the desktop. I'm clicking my desktop and then I have to move it to like drop it in VS Code.
No. Did you extract it yet?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, you extracted it to your desktop.
Yeah.
So now you see your desktop folder here. So I go to VS Code, I open it up, and I go to open folder.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
And then I just grab that desktop folder, that root one, and it opens up. And I make sure I'm in the right folder because it says it here. It says Claude project at the end.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And then all I do, if you have it installed, all I do is click Claude. Yes, I trust this folder. It's going to be asking you for permissions possibly as you go through this project. And although usually you do want to read them, in this project, you're going to be okay to just press a yes and accept. I have a very guided project folder. So I would just keep it kind of going forward.
And we have another question. Oh, we have two more questions. One question is, using Visual Studios as well as Claude Code Desktop, is there an advantage of one versus another? You need
For
both.
this one, no. You can pretty much use it in either one. I tend to use VS Studio. I have more control in terms of like I can see all my files. I can just more easily navigate and install things. When I do it on the desktop, which I really honestly don't use very much, I feel a little bit more controlled, a little bit more reined in. I don't have the same type of freedom. Now, you can do most of it though. You can do most of what you do in desktop. So if you're doing that today, you should absolutely have no problem with this. This is a very simple game. This is mostly HTML. So you don't really have to worry about anything not working with the desktop.
Perfect.
I'm still stuck in the click code. Okay, I clicked, a bunch of code appears, and what should I do next?
So did you install Claude before on your computer?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. If you want to, can you add pictures to
Oh.
the thing? You can, I don't know. I don't know what you're exactly seeing. So I don't know if I can help you.
Now I think because they the Visual Studio, the VS appears inside the downloaded Claude. Let me show you.
Oh, actually, we're going to just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And again, this is going to be recorded, and then we'll have an offer after the session. But we just wanted to, at least from a demo standpoint, be able to show you folks what's possible. So go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, thank you. So we should have pressed Claude and it should bring us something like this. Yours probably doesn't say servers need authentication. I have a few that I still need to authenticate. Anyways, if this is your first time and it's working, just press, yes, I want the light background, the black background, whatever it is. But now that we're in Visual Studio and we have our project open, you can look to the left. This shows us all your files, which is really, really neat. And the first thing we're going to do, again, is go over that Emma framework. So we're following these 4 steps of explore, model, modify, and actualize. So explore is saying to Claude, hey, we're going to explore this code base. And that's exactly what I'm going to write in here. And you guys can do that as well. And my first thing, explore the code base. And
say that one more time, Rachel. It's going to be explore, modify.
Explore the code base.
And then the M is for the next was the EMMA.
Oh, sorry, we have model, which is where we get it running and we actually play it. So it's going to model the game for us. Then we have modify, which means we're going to change it on purpose. We're going to do one thing at a time. We're going to maybe change the dialogue or a background. And then we have actualize, which is where we put it somewhere real, right? Which means, okay, now we can put it on Netlify and share it, that kind of thing. So those are the 4 steps we're going through. Like I said, this is explore. We're telling Claude, explore the code base. He already knows. I've already prompted him to know that this is Emma, stage 1 of 4, explore, right? He's going to introduce himself. He's going to tell you a little bit about the project. He's going to call out our one HTML file that's really, really important and kind of guide you through the project. So where did he get all these instructions, right? It's not just magic. The whole thing is going to your Claude file. So if you go to up here and you look at CLAUDE.md, this is my instructions file. This is the first thing that Claude reads. Whenever you start a project, you want to put your instructions in CLAUDE.md. And when Claude wakes up, you say, hi, Claude, explore Claude, whatever it is. The first file he reads is your Claude.md. And you'll see here, this has instructions on what to do, how to frame it, how to talk to me, what framework we're using, what we're doing with the project, everything like that. It's all in here. And it cuts a lot of that back and forth of like, oh, I want to do a project. I want to make a game. What kind of game do you want to make? Right? This actually includes everything that Claude needs to know to start. It even has some things of what not to do, which is really nice.
So
But it
Rachel, if we could just take a moment, and I think there's a couple people just to understand between Claude Code and everything that you're sharing with us with Claude, and then the Visual Studios. There's a little bit of disconnect, and between why does Claude need Visual Studios in order to create, or Claude Code need Visual Studios in order to create the app?
So Visual Studio is an IDE, and it just helps you talk to Claude Code in your terminal. You can do it in Claude Code Desktop. That is your choice. It's definitely mostly preference. This is my choice because I can see everything. I can talk to it. It makes me feel comfortable. Claude Code Desktop, you can't see all your files like I do. There just seems to be a little bit more of that comforting restraint, right? Like I don't like it as much. A lot of it is preference. I can open up multiple terminals, right? This is a PowerShell terminal. I can go here. I can go and open another one and start another conversation if I want to. There's so much more navigation and moving that I can do that I can't do in Claude Code Desktop.
Okay, so for somebody who's new, they might not have realized that Visual Studios is going to be part of their toolbox within Claude Code. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So for those that that this is all new and visual, you're not just learning Claude Code, but you're also, implementing Visual Studios. Just patience, take a pause. Again, you're going to have access to this recording, and then it'll be another learning opportunity for you as well. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So, I tried to make the starter project as simple as possible. That way, if you decided to do this on your own as well, Claude would help you kind of study or go forward even without me, meaning it already knows the framework of what we're doing today, and it'll follow Emma and it'll help you get from point A to point B.
Great.
But if today you're doing the desktop, that's absolutely fine. There's really no difference. It's just your preference at this point.
Thank you.
All right. So give me one moment to get myself back on track. Okay. So we clicked explore. It told us about the project. We looked at CLAUDE.md, which is really important because, again, it gives you the instructions. Whenever you start a project, you want to start with CLAUDE.md. And now that we did that, we are going to go through the next process. So now that we did the desktop, we are going to move to model. So I'm going to say, I'm ready to model. That's all you have to say. That is a trigger sentence for Claude. So now he knows I've explored it. Now it's your turn to understand it, right? So explore is for him to understand the code base. Model is for me to kind of see what we've done. So it's telling us now what we can do. It's giving us, we have a clickable HTML inside our folder. If you remember, I had you keep that up. So we're going to click inside our folder from our actual folder, from our desktop folder, our Files Explorer. So we clicked into it, and now we see all these files here, just like they're in the Visual Studio, but we want to do it from our Windows or Explorer library. And we're going to go to deadline run. This is our HTML. We are going to right click it and we're going to open it. If you do not see your Chrome here, your internet here, you go to open with. Make sure you are opening it with Chrome or Edge or something similar for it to actually show up in your browser. So I'm right clicking. I'm going to open it. And now I can play it. So for anybody, even if they haven't gone to Visual Studio or haven't opened up, if you have this folder at this point, you can still go into your folder and open this up and play the game. So I'm going to give you guys a minute or two to check it out and you guys can let me know what you think of it.
Question, Rachel. Did you write out the CLAUDE.md instructions with any assistance from Claude, or was that
Yeah,
really typed out?
totally AI assistant. So what I usually do when I do these things, I work backwards. So what I pretty much very by brute force tell it what I want, create the game, tweak, tweak, tweak. It could take a few hours, it could take a few days, it could take a week, but however long I put, however much effort and details I put into it. And then I work backwards from there. And then I say like, okay, I'm doing the workshop or I want to make this again. So now I need you to make me an MD file that tells Claude exactly how I would do this workshop. And then I work with it there. And it pretty much makes the whole thing. I review it, I tweak it, I give it my thoughts and make sure that it's the way I like it. But Claude does everything. You are the person guiding Claude. It is your material, but Claude is the one actually writing it.
Human in the loop.
Exactly. So, and I had to go through several iterations of it too, right? So the first time I said for Claude to do it, I had a whole bunch of mistakes in it. And even though it's super smart and it could do so much, you need to review it. You need to make sure that it actually makes sense.
I just have to ask you this question, Rachel. What, as you were working and learning, what was your level of frustration and how did you manage that?
I think the frustration was pretty low because once you start, you can take off running. There's the access barrier to get into this is pretty low. You can open up Claude and say, make me a game, and it can give you something. It may not give you sprites like our avatars. It may not give you everything that you want, but it's going to open up and probably show you something pretty cool. So in terms of that, very low frustration. However, when you start really getting into the details and realizing how do I want to make a game and I really want my avatar to be able to grab things and move things and do things. And that's when you have to start thinking outside the box. And now you have things like going and making sprite sheets, and you have things like getting an MCP, which is pulling in another tool and having Claude talk to it. And then you have to start getting into like some actual skill building there. But to make a basic HTML, to make a bingo game, to make a regular quiz game, those are things that you can do real simple without having to do any of the things I just mentioned.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next,
So,
questions. Any questions for
questions?
Rachel for the moment?
I have a
All
quick
right.
Okay.
question.
Oh, we got
Just
one.
for chat. Can you explain a little bit the purpose of each step for your framework, like the explore, model, modify, and actualize?
Of course. So the idea behind the framework is that you can use it for any type of project. And when you go into Claude, those are the 4 things that you should be covering when you do a project. So explore. Claude always needs to get familiar with your code base. That is very important. You don't want to just start something fresh without it reading over. When you get more advanced and you start working multiple projects, or your project takes more than one session, you're going to start doing handoff things. And that's going to be really important for Claude to go back and read. So explore is always where you start, no matter what your Claude project is. And then when you get to model, you want to see what Claude has made you so far, right? You want it to model it for you. That may mean what we did today, which is it gave us our URL and we played it. It may mean just going over and text what it's done. But the idea is for you to get familiar with what point you are in the project, right? So first, explores for Claude to do that, and then it's for you to do it with modeling. Then when you get to modify, after Claude has gotten familiar, after you've gotten familiar, now it's time to make your modifications. And now this is where you may, for this game, we're going to talk about changing dialogue, backgrounds, avatars, but your project may be completely different. So you're going to be modifying other things. And that's your time to do that. When you get to actualize, that's okay. Now I'm ready to bring it to life. Now I'm ready to publish it or, put it on Storyline or, make an iframe, whatever you may do. That's your final, I'm ready, I'm done, I want to start showing it off.
Okay, Rachel, let me kind of share what's going on in the chat right now. So, first of all, Alicia, I 100% agree that yes, I mean, for some of us that are, for decades have been doing things one way, and now in a very short period of time, we're trying to train our brain and pivot to doing things in a very different way. So yes, a 9-year-old might have an easier time catching this than a 40-plus-year-old. So acknowledge and be patient with yourself. And then we did have a question coming from Megan about repeating where the folders are in opening in VC Code. What the type of terminal, is there a certain terminal that needs to be looked at? So what do you type in the terminal? What do you type in the terminal for VC Code was a question. So
Okay, so
some
all
people
you have to do is once you've opened your folder, right, it's gonna look like this. You open your folder, it's gonna have your address to your folder. You're gonna wanna see the folder name, the last part, and then all you do is type in Claude. This is if you've installed Claude in your computer already. Then you type in Claude and you press enter, and then you're working with Claude inside the project folder.
And for some people, they might not realize that, again, this is a relationship. You have to treat Claude like a coworker, like somebody you're working with, like a new employee. As a new employee, you have to show them where are the files that they're going to be pulling from.
And for those who maybe missed it, I'm going to put the link to Designs in there once again that has the folder, the starter folder that you're supposed to extract and then open inside your Visual Studio. I'm just giving it to you guys again.
Someone have a question?
Oh,
Go ahead.
Rachel, when you're done, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why is Amazon paying me $600 a day? Because I use Amazon.
Hold on. Whoever's talking to Amazon needs to. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm new to VS Code, and when I open the folder, I find my folder on Claude projects. Do I choose assets or scenarios?
Oh, no, you don't choose anything. So look, when you go to open prod folder, you're going to choose that root folder right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you just say select folder. So you don't go into it. You don't double click into it and click assets or scenarios. You're clicking your root folder.
Oh.
You select folder. And then when it opens, you'll see on your left, if you press the Explorer right here, the thing that looks like the papers, you're going to see all your files, which I absolutely love. Right? And then you type in Claude and you get rolling.
It's weird because these problems, output, debug, it disappeared from my VS screen.
I don't know what part you're at. I'm sorry.
I've already done all these tabs that you mentioned. I've clicked CLAUDE.md, and then a bunch of code appears, but there is no place I can click here.
Well, you don't need to really click MD. If you're in Visual Studio, I just click and then I can see it up above my terminal just so I could read it. But I don't need to really do anything with it. And if it becomes more of an issue, then I wouldn't even worry about clicking on it or anything.
Okay, and then what do I type here on terminal?
In terminal, did you type in Claude and start? Well, did you type in Claude and press enter?
Up, who's got their hand up?
It's Kaylee.
Hi,
Rachel, I
Kaylee.
just put a screenshot of I'm having the same issue or a similar issue. I just put a screenshot in the chat.
Okay, it's possible that you tried to install it, but weren't able to do the install into the file path. Did you do the file path fix?
I'm not quite sure
If
what you
you
mean.
Okay, I'm gonna give you this link really quick because I don't want to
Okay.
spend too much time on it. But
Hey,
this
Rachel and Brian,
is
I just want to share that as I was setting up my terminal before today's workshop, I ran into that same error. I exited out of the terminal and I came back in and it magically fixed itself. I don't know if that will work in this case, but just a little tip. I exited out of the terminal and then I came back in and it fixed itself.
Can never
very
hurt to turn it off and turn it back on, right?
sometimes that works. So like if you did it and then you fix the path and you had your Visual Studio open, it won't pick it up. You have to actually exit Visual Studio and then go back into it. Same thing for Claude, even if you don't fix the path. So why don't you try to do that? Exit out, go back in, try Claude. Thank you so much. That was very helpful. See if that works.
Well,
And
it sounds like just from a lesson learned, like even just getting the technology and the platform set up before, it's like there's like this pre-step, this pre-work that needs to be done, and for people to understand before they can even start designing and working through the vibe coding with Claude.
Yeah. There's
So
all
I-
these little nuances.
Yeah, I would agree with that because this is definitely some trickier software. I think it looks more like dev software. Um, but I found looking at your participant guide to be a little bit helpful as we go through these so I can see it in writing as well. So
Perfect.
yeah, that's kind of helped me to solve some of these issues. And I also was wondering when I downloaded Claude Code, that's like a totally different experience from this. Is this like a different type of product from Claude Code?
The Visual
This is
Studios.
the same
Just
thing. So the difference in Visual Studios is you're doing a CLI, which is a command line interface, right? So you're bringing Claude, you're installing it in your computer, and you're bringing it into your terminal. You're communicating through your terminal through Visual Studio. The great thing about it, like I said before, is you get to see all your files. You can open up more than one terminal. It's great for navigation. You can use it as a beginner, but also as a beginner, you can use Claude Desktop. And it's same Claude. There's no difference in the Claude Code. Claude Code is either in Visual Studio, the way that we called it from the CLI, or if you have Claude Desktop, you can just go to Code. I'll just show you really quick. So if you have Claude Desktop, you just go to Code, click on New, and then here it may say it might have a folder, it may not, and you're going to open your folder. Same thing, Claude project. I'm going to trust the workspace. So this is still the extracted desktop that I had. And then I just work on it from here and I can say explore codebase like I had done in my BS terminal.
okay, I don't know what it is about this like UX, but this one makes me feel more comfortable.
Okay.
And when I
That
downloaded Claude first, this is what I saw. But yeah, it's good to know I can use both.
exactly. And it's going to give you the same experience in terms of it's the same project folder. So it's going to say the same thing to me here that it said in Visual Studio.
Okay.
So if this is something you guys it's easier for you and you feel more comfortable, go for it. Do the project, do the desktop app. So just remember the first thing you're going to write is explore codebase. It's going to talk to you. It's going to say like, tell me when you're ready to model. And you can type in, I'm ready to model, right? Because it explored it. It told you a little bit about it. about what the project is. It says, I'm done exploring it. I understand what's going on. I read my Claude.md. I'm good. Now it's your turn. Are you ready to see it? Yes, I'm ready to model it.
So I guess the question is like, and again, we've got a large crowd here, but even just MD, is there anybody who's not familiar with the term, the markdown file, an MD file?
So MD is just a text file, right? It's just a regular text file. Computers, the terminal, Claude can usually read it better than any other type of file. That's really the only difference.
A PDF versus a Word file versus, right?
Yeah.
It's
If
just the
you're
difference.
giving something to Claude, it is better to give it in an MD file from like your notepad
It says
than
markdown.
a soft Word doc.
Just again, leveling, making sure that we're hitting everybody. That MD stands for markdown file, right? Cool.
Yeah.
All good. All right, Rachel, where can we go next with this?
Okay, and remember, I'm gonna kind of keep going in Visual Studio. You can do the same thing in Claude Desktop and say the same thing I'm going to do. Follow along just the same. So you played with it. Hopefully you kind of identified it. So now you're going to tell Claude, I played it. So we told Claude explore. We told Claude I'm ready to model. And now I played it. So I'm going to put that in here. I'm going to see what it tells me. To say that's model done. You've now seen what it does before touching it, which is the bit almost everybody skips, right? It's always good to familiarize yourself as well as Claude. Okay, so now that we did that and we have an idea of what we liked, what we didn't, now we can modify. So now I'm going to go to, I'm ready to modify. Now, here is where you get to personalize it. So first, we're going to all make the same kind of change so that if you're following along, hopefully nobody gets lost. We're going to follow the loop of change, refresh, and play. So the first change is going to be Bob's dialogue. He sounds like someone from any office. You can make it something from your office. So you can tell Bob, hey, or you can tell Claude, I want to change Bob's dialogue. You can say something like, knew it. Go tell Kate in HR before someone clicks it. She can warn the whole building. You're just changing a little bit of the text and you're talking to Claude while you do it. So you can say something like, and I'm going to put this in the chat. But I want you to expand on it a little bit more too. So you can write to him, rewrite Bob's rebriefing lines, right? Because Bob talked to us at the beginning. So he sounds like someone from my office. Keep the same 3 beats and reply the same length. In my office, he might refer to me as Morganite or something. So you might say like, so have him say, hey, Morganite. Make him sound a little sassy. You can really personalize it and change it however you want. You could have him say something specific. You can give him an attitude change. That is totally up to you. I love that you made him talk like a surfer. Exactly. Have him talk like a gothic teenager, whatever you want. That's the whole point. And then, so Claude is now, and again, just going to remind you, you could type the same thing right in your desktop. It's going to do the same thing. So now, where am I? Okay. Okay, so he says done. Bob now says, hey, Morgan, I knew it. Get that Kate. Okay, da da da. Oh, and mine electrical pits facilitated renovating again. Use the cables, hero. Is that sassy? I don't know if that's really that sassy.
You're just talking to Claude, just like you would a coworker.
Exactly.
Colleague. Co-pilot.
I'm just going to say, let's just do that and be a little more sassy and talk to Claude. And if you want to see it, we'll see it. So all you have to do is go back to that folder, right? Do you remember this? The one I told you to keep up? You're in your folder. From your Windows Explorer, you're going to click into Deadline Run. You're going to double click it or right click open, but you might have it open already anyways, which you really should. But if you don't, that's okay. Right? And then all you have to do each time, if you keep it up on your computer, you can just refresh it every time he makes an update. Okay, so now we're gonna see if he actually changed the way he spoke. He said, mind electrical pits superstar. So let's see if he actually did it. So I'm gonna go up to him. We're gonna go through it. Let's see what he says to us. Hey, Morganite. Okay, so all my changes were made. That's great. Awesome. Okay, and maybe you don't like how the text is to the right. Maybe you want it centered or to the left in that text box. Maybe you wanted a different font. That's for you to do. Another thing we can do to change it is say like, I'd really like to change my avatar. Avatar. What are my choices? I did give you guys some choices to choose from. So you can type that into Claude. Ask him about that. Open choose HTML. Okay, so he's telling us to open this file. We're not going to open it from Visual Studio. We're going to go back into our File Explorer. And instead of clicking and double clicking Deadline Run, we're going to go to choose. And I'm going to double click it, and it's going to open up a new doc for me. And these are the different choices we have to choose from. Now, normally when you're making a project, you would have been the one to make these. I'm giving you, I already pre-made them, I put them in. I'm letting you personalize it and choose which one you want. But you would instead say, hey, I want a new avatar. Can you make me one? Can you make me one? And I'll probably make you not a great one. So then you can go to Nano Banana and you can make an image and then give it to Claude. Or you could have Claude use the MCP tool to actually talk to Nano Banana and make it. And then you can do it all within Claude Code, which is really my favorite way to do it. But that's getting a little bit ahead of things. So anyways, this is how you're going to personalize it today. You have all these. It says make this. Or say this, make the player character hero woman too. I can copy this. I can change my person. I'm going to make it the old lady. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to Claude. I'm going to say, make my hero character the older lady. I don't even really have to give it. I don't have to say hero woman one. I can. Going to put that in there too, but it's pretty smart. It usually knows what you're talking about. And a little tip, at least for Visual Studio, don't think it really does it. Yeah, it doesn't do it for a desktop. When you press the right key or right click on your mouse, You know how it does that open menu to the paste and copy and everything? When you do it in Visual Studio, it just pastes it automatically. So all you do is like press the right click on your mouse and it pastes, which is kind of cool. All right, so now I'm going to test it again. Where did it go? It's all over the place. Let's see, is it here? Yeah. Okay, so all I did was refresh it, and now I have her instead. So that's fun. Are there any questions right now? How are we doing?
There's no specific button to be like, okay, export or regenerate for that, so that when you refresh your page, the new avatar appears. It's constantly publishing until you refresh the page and after the changes have happened. Is that correct?
Yeah, you usually, I mean, listen, your computer may get funky and just show it, but yes, you normally have to press the refresh to show the new changes because you're updating the file, right? So your computer needs to be told like, hey, we just updated it. Let's refresh.
Okay. And more on like the engineering side of it for the CLAUDE.md file, all of that context and the Emma model, is that a model that has already existed for a while, or when you were first trying to build this, that's a model that you created yourself and then Claude helped you kind of structure it?
So the CLAUDE.md file is always been there, right? That's always the rule with Claude and Claude Code projects, that you have a Claude.md file. That is innate, that's intrinsic, that comes with Claude Code. The knowledge that Claude Code will look at that first. So that is not just a me thing, that's anybody who's doing Claude Code. You always make a Claude.md file to put your instructions in there. The Emma framework is something that I came up with to keep myself going and making sure I'm on track. When you're doing multiple projects or long projects or even short projects, and when you're beginning, it gets overwhelming pretty fast in terms of like you can do so much that you end up doing so much, right? And so for me, if I'm following that framework and I have my Claude and I tell my Claude and MD to follow that framework, not only does it help me keep in track, but like it helps Claude to keep me on track too, which I really like. Because the beautiful thing about our coding assistant and Claude Code is that it can do for you whatever you tell it to, meaning you don't need to depend on yourself to keep on track or to keep in pace. You can tell Claude Code, you are my manager. I need you to make sure that I'm doing this on this day, that I spend this many hours on this session, that I get this done. You can tell Claude how to manage you so that you don't even have to think about it. Does that make any sense? So if you have a different framework that you want to use, or you want to expand the framework, you can tell Claude all about it. But for me, the Emma framework is just something that I've used to help myself stay organized. I'm an instructional designer. I do a lot of projects. I'm also, a consultant. I do a lot of projects. So anything that helps me stay organized is very helpful.
So Rachel, let's just take from your experience as an instructional designer and this project that you built here. What was the process, as an instructional designer? How is Claude changing the way you work today versus how you did things as an instructional designer a year or a year and a half ago?
Oh, yeah. Huge difference. Like I was saying, before it was just all storyline. And now it's like, if I can think it, I can get Claude Code to do it. And so now I get to gamify pretty much everything. And it's really changed how things have happened. I have created an e-learning platform that has an arcade inside of it. And these are game shells I've been able to vibe code and hook up to over 600 questions based on our Academy's, modules and those questions, and they're interchangeable. So someone can say, oh, you know what, this is my focus for the day, or this week I'm working on module 1. I go to my arcade. All the questions for all the arcade games I have are based on those questions for module 1. And then once I've mastered all of them and I've taken the assessment, then it automatically goes to module 2. And then it changes all the questions in that arcade to module 2. So it's just amazing the different things you can do with it. It's more than just a fun little 2D game. It's how you work in general, right? It could be a CRM, it could be a self-paced module converter, which I made that saved my team hours of time, where we have PowerPoints that need to be turned into self-paced courses. And now I've been able to make Vibe Code something in which all we do is upload our instructor-led modules, which are just PowerPoints, extracts the notes to make audios. I can add in my games in there all in one place. It takes about 10 minutes and I could push it out and I have an awesome, cool self-paced course. So there's so many ways that vibe coding can help you become more efficient, become more engaging, become more organized. It's really incredible.
Well, it sounds like a complete game changer. And one question, like Victoria made a statement about, so are we moving away from Storyline because she's really excited about dumping all of her subscriptions?
Well, and that's funny because I don't want to be here and say don't use Storyline. That is not what this is for. In fact, I do use it for certain things, such as I will build a PWO, portable web object game, and I will put it in Storyline and then put in my PowerPoints, upload that to Storyline. I'm able to build around it, and that's really cool. So it has purposes, right? But do I build games in it anymore? No. I can build a game vibe coding in an hour versus, a day or two in Storyline or longer. So, Rise, Storyline, phenomenal. They have their places. I still use Rise when I need to get something out that wasn't that I didn't already make in PowerPoint. I also am able to just vibe code my own quiz maker, which I've done, instead of using Rise just for a quiz. It's your imagination, it's your ability to keep working with Claude to find out what are MCP tools, what are CLIs, what are dependencies, what are installs, what can I do to make what I need to make? And it's just you kind of pounding the pavement with that and just asking Claude question after question until you get it.
And then Brittany said that her organization is not really into gamifying quizzes, but they might be open to that end-to-end on a serious game. So that's a great question, Brittany, because it's like as an instructional design professional, you see the power of the tool of Claude, but is your organization top down ready to make that commitment? And Rachel, you work for a company, and what was it like educating them about the tools you were using and how you were changing the way you worked?
And it's funny you say that because when I first started working with them, I didn't even get into vibe coding yet, really. I was just like, hey, how about using Beyond? And I got instant pushback. They were like, no, what the biggest problem is? None of our other instructional designers on the team know how to use it. We don't want you to use a team that our other instructional designers can't use. And then fast forward a year later, and I am vibe coding software for them. I am making apps and things that our whole team is using. And that was just like not even imaginable a year ago. And this is what it's important, is that scalability, especially in instructional design, is huge. So when I'm making these things, I'm not just making a one-off. I'm thinking, how can I make this self-service so it can be used by my coworker and they can reuse it and reuse it and reuse it for other trainings and put new information into it. Maybe it's not a game. Maybe it is a quiz. Maybe it is an assessment. Maybe it's an academy like I made where it's all about data and making sure, and I have a behavioral report card, an attendance report card, or maybe it's an L&D hub, which I'm making as well. And it's about tracking schedules. Gamification for me I'm really passionate about it because I believe that learning should be fun and it should be engaging and interactive. But there's a whole other side to L&D in which isn't even the learners, but us in general as instructional designers. And we need to be able to organize ourselves and work on projects and manage our time. I don't know about you, but I'm constantly inundated with requests for trainings. And that's partly why I pushed so hard in vibe coding, because I'm like, how do I do this? We got a request that was going to take a week. I was able to make my self-paced converter and do it within an hour because I was able to vibe code it. It had nothing to do with gamification, it had to do with efficiency, and it was value added. And I can use it, but also anybody on my team can use it. So making something usable for everyone, making it scalable for everyone, making it self-service, those are huge buy-ins.
As I'm talking on, so then let's talk about the cost, right? So you've talked about the return on investment, the ROI, that it's your time, but tokens cost money. So what is the payoff between your productivity and efficiency and the tokenization of these platforms?
Yeah. Well, I think that Opus 5 and Claude Code has been pretty good in tokens. I think you get a lot done there. You have that subscription of 20, 100, 200. If you're using Fable, you're going to use all your tokens very, very quickly. It is not sustainable. I do have a skill I use in which I'm able to use Fable as an orchestrator, and I tell it not to use any other Fables, and then it gives information to all the other models. And that way I can still use Fable without draining all my tokens. But that being said, that is an expense for you, right? Your company has to pay for it, or you do. You can try the $20 that has the Claude Code in it, and if you do one project a week or something like that, you may be able to do it, and it may be fine. And you stick on Opus 5, you tell Opus 5 to use things like Sonnet, the other models, when it doesn't need to use it itself, meaning for like grunt work, because the lower in the models you go, the less tokens are used. So you can make your Opus 5 an orchestrator, just like I make my Fable an orchestrator. That's a really good way to use tokens. If the $20 isn't doing it for you, probably will for at least a project, right? Then you go up and you do the $100 one. That's probably going to last you quite a bit. But there's ways to really generalize how you're using your tokens and make sure you're doing it efficiently. And that's where the research comes in, going to GitHub and downloading certain installs for your skills. I mean, I'm going off on something that I probably shouldn't be right now. My point being, though, there are ways to not waste all your tokens.
Oh, good. All right, well, let's get back into some of the questions. There are a few more questions here on chat. Oh, did someone want to jump in before I read them out? All right, MJ, you were talking about maybe you would just want to jump on and ask about the MD file, creating the gamification learning activity.
Yeah, I was wondering, every game's different, but are there certain, general requirements that you would include to develop any kind of gamified learning activity? Like, do you have to include, I assume, descriptions of the players or objectives, or is there core content you should include, and does that go into that MD file? And then
it's a really good question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Right?
Oh yeah. And lastly, how do we make an MD file? Because I'm not familiar with that format.
Okay, no, really, really simple. So my simplest thing, what I would tell you right now, is to go into the one I gave you, copy it, go to like ChatGPT. And another thing, I don't use Claude for everything. I do like to talk with ChatGPT first. I talk to it about, like, when I'm doing a social post, I talk to it. When I am discussing the project I want to make, I talk to it. And then I kind of say, like, okay, now give me a good prompt to start that with Claude. You don't have to use ChatGPT to do that. You can use Claude to do that. That's my process. So as we were saying, I would copy all the text inside the Claude.md file. I would put it in ChatGPT and say, okay, I want to follow this Claude format, but I want to do a different kind of project. Can you help me rewrite it to new specifications, right? And you can just keep reworking what you have. There's no reason to ever create 10 new MD files from scratch, right? If you like the framework, if you like the fact that it gives you instructions and in that way, just take it and say, I want to use this on a different project. Help me rewrite it. And then when you start a new project, that is your new Claude.md file. Maybe you don't want the Emma framework in there. You don't have to. You could say, no more Emma framework. Just make me a really good, useful Claude.md file that helps Claude really understand the code base and helps it guide me across the project as well. So it's basically you just deciding on your own what you want your instructions of Claude to be for that project. And you don't have to write a single sentence. You can go in ChatGPT, you can go in Claude, you can say, help me write this. You're going to write it. I'm just going to give you the ideas of what I want. Now for the other stuff, let's say we have PRDs, we have PowerPoints, we have notes, we have all these things, right, that we want to be able to pull from. So depending on your orchestra, your company and how they deal with that and Claude Code having access to their files, if your company is okay with that, then you can take all those things and you can put it in your folder. And you can say, Claude, these are my source of truths. This is where we are in the project. This is our summary. This is 10 weeks of notes or transcripts. Can you please take this and make sure that the material of the game we're making and the questions we're asking reflect this material, right? So the MD is specifically for instructions. It doesn't have to have anything to do with the actual content of the game.
Okay. Is there a way, and I appreciate you putting the context of the work environment, because I think if we do get Claude Code, we would want to be, looking at our PowerPoints, looking at our current documentation. Is there a way that we could just use Word files? Because I'm seeing this, everything I have so far that I've been playing with was just a Word file, but I was creating like, a glossary and a process, and I put a list of quiz questions, and they were all different Word files. Does it have to be in that MD format?
You can do that. That is absolutely fine. If they're all Word files, if they're Excels, if they're PowerPoints, you can keep them in that file format. It'll read it just the same. But when it comes to something like rules, PRDs, roadmaps, and it's creating files with you and for you, it's going to do it in .md because that's the way it really talks and communicates.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So we had a question from Monica about how do you connect it to the LMS using Articulate?
Okay, so that's a really great question. So there's a couple things you can do, and I didn't include it in this workshop, but you can, if you want to put it in Rise, you can make an iframe, have Claude make you an embedded iframe link, and you can put it in Rise that way. If you want it to be a portable web object that you put in Storyline, then you tell it, make me a dist folder. That's a distribution folder, DIST, and you have it make you a dist folder for a slide, and then you go into Storyline and you import a web object. Now, if you want it to go straight into your LMS without Storyline or Rise, then you say, make me a SCORM package, 1.2 or 2004, whatever you want. And then I'm going to throw something in with you guys, and I hope this isn't like too distracting, but I don't have access to the, I don't know how I have access in LMS. So if you go to SCORM, Cloud, there we go. Go to SCORM Cloud. This is a really good way to test your item. So like to test that it's taking the score, to test that it's marking it complete, that kind of thing. SCORM.cloud is amazing. It's free. You just make an account and you go into it. And you guys don't have to do this. This is just like completely just bonus what I'm saying right here. And you go import a SCORM. So you've told Claude, make me a SCORM package and made it for you. It's zipped. You put it in here, you say import course, and then you can play it. If it plays in here the way you want it, it's probably going to work perfectly in your LMS. Every time it's done it for me, it's worked perfectly in my LMS. It just makes me like feel better, like knowing that I'm handing them something that's going to work. Claude doesn't always get it right the first time. Sometimes it won't mark the score or that it's completed, and you have to go back and say like, hey, it's not marking that I passed at 80%. It's not giving me a score at all when I look at my SCORM Cloud. So it's just an extra something for you to kind of keep in mind.
I have a follow-up question now that we're already in the distribution stage. Thank you so much for sharing this. I had a question a couple minutes ago, and it was about, if you're making this game for a client, how can you get it back to the client with like actual results? Like, let's say how many people score what, how many questions they got right through the game. So now that we're talking of the scoring package, so those scores are being stored somewhere for me to report back to my client and be like, oh, the game was successful. Is that being recorded somewhere?
Yeah, so that's up to you. Right now, it's really, but that's something you could add. You could say to Claude, like, hey, I need to be able to report this to a client. Can you make everything readable to an Excel or, another inside? Maybe you want it to just be another page, right? Like if you go here, maybe you want to be able to have an admin button and they click admin, then it shows them everybody's scores. So we don't have that in this project. But by talking to Claude and telling it you want that, it can guide you into how to get that.
Cool, thank you.
And it totally can do that 100%. Has everybody gotten a chance to really like check it out and play with it to their liking? I would say the last step really quick, if you have it, even if you're not done with it, but you still want to share it, it's netlify.com. It'll make you a URL that you can share out, which is really simple. You can do it for free. You can do it work, personal, doesn't matter. I'm making an account right here on netlify.com. I'll write it in here too. I'm going to do NA, or maybe I'll just do self. It doesn't really matter. None of this matters. Company or team name. So that's what matters, right? That's what your thing is going to be called. So I'll call it Claude Code Intro. Let's see what else. Oh, I guess I gotta click on these things. I'm going to continue to deploy. And here it is. So it takes you to this page. This is so simple, you guys. All you do is take that folder that we worked on, the whole thing, the Claude project, your root folder, and all you do is drop it in here. And that's it. Like, well, you make it public. This is really important. Make public, and then you can change it. So helping Bob is, you can do that, whatever you want to do. Whatever site you want it to be named. It's going to have .netlify.app at the end. Okay, you need to press the check mark. And then you make it public. Okay, and that means I can give the link to anyone. It's right here in green. Anybody can play my game now. It's ready to go. Right? I can copy it and give it to anyone. All right. I think we have a couple minutes, or you want to chat for a sec.
Good. Yeah. You want to, we could just kind of share what our vision is right now and next steps. Are you open for that?
Exactly. So we have two different things. First off, I hope you guys were able to follow along today and get this, and even better if you got on Netlify. If you just want to watch the video back later, try again, that's fine. If you want to reach out to me at any time, I'm so happy to chat. I'm going to put in my LinkedIn here really quick.
So maybe we can hear from some of the, what were some of your takeaways? If we could, MJ, what from today, we first spoke to, and then what was your, the biggest takeaway from today's event?
I I think that the setup is really important. So having that video to make sure I got it set up. I like the framework that was introduced in terms of, how you would go about sort of updating it. So I think this is a really helpful sort of foundation to build on. Um, you know, being in the learning space, I'm going to want to nerd out on, what these files mean and, how this setup, a little bit more about the setup. But I think this is a really great foundation to build something unique from.
And just as an instructional designer, how much of a pivot do you feel like for some of you? Is there anybody else who's open to sharing what you feel being the way you've been working as an instructional designer and how Claude and Claude Code can potentially, or AI in general, is going to be changing the way you work? Anybody open to sharing?
Yeah, my name is Cassandra, and I feel like education is really changing, but it's very slow. But I'm trying to figure out how do I pivot and train teachers on AI implementation, and where do I start, especially when a lot of them are kind of anti kids cheating, like anti using AI. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So I love this because it gives me a lot of insight.
And tools. I mean, you're basically having to rebuild your toolbox.
Yeah.
All right, Cecilia.
Yes, I think what I'm going to say is related to what we just, what I don't know who was talking, but probably the most difficult part will be to sell this to stakeholders, um, because they see this is a game. Are they going to really learn anything from it? So that will probably be the hardest thing. Now, my takeaway, because I'm already sold on this, my takeaway from the webinar is I couldn't get my hands on it because I don't have a paid account of Claude. But beyond the tools, because tools come and go. Today is Claude, next week might be something else. But I really like the way Rachel create created this game from a subject that could be really boring. Um, I enjoyed the game. I played it a few times. And my head is exploding with ideas to
Yes.
add and to make it longer and amplify. And thank you for sharing this. That is giving me a lot of ideas. Thank you so much.
Well, that's wonderful. And so I feel like that's our high note right there, Cecilia. So you were the first one on, one of the first people on. So we're just so grateful that you were able to share with us. I mean, Rachel and I are just passionate about sharing this information and empowering people. And so today's session was just an opportunity to meet you and then to introduce an opportunity in a small group setting to continue this learning journey together. So what you see on the screen right now, Rachel will share with you. It's only going to be 10 participants. Like we want this really small we're a large group right now. We're more than double the size. So just imagine if you had less than half this size of people and that you were really able to get that hands-on experience in a group setting. Because what this program that we're designing right here for you, that's going to be starting on September 8th, it's going to be a small group, high touch, but most important, folks, there's going to be a level of accountability. There's, part of what I do as a project manager is, hold people's feet to the fire. You're going to put your stake in the ground. What is that goal that you want to accomplish in a 4-week period? And within that 4 weeks, in this small cohort setting, Rachel is going to guide you as our Sherpa, right? She's going to take you. It's not an easy path. I mean, there's a lot of learning involved. There's going to be levels of frustration and confusion, but with Rachel's guidance and the group support, just imagine what you can accomplish in the next 30 days. So this is offer number one. So this one is specific for instructional designers. So Rachel, talk a little bit about why this program, what is it about this program and the invitation for instructional designers and why they should join.
Exactly. I've been able to do since I started vibe coding in very little time. So it's kind of amazing what you can do. And this foundation, this is just our foundation academy. And so we start with 90-minute sessions once a week for 4 weeks, and we give Claude the context it needs before you use to build it. So we're building the foundation. That's session one. We explore, we talk about CLAUDE.md, we talk about project files. We really get into the idea of like everything that you kind of were asking today, like, but what about, the CLAUDE.md? What about how do we start it? What about these files? Like, how do we start a session? That kind of thing. That's all going into session one. And then we have two. How do we make the workflow reusable? How do we do the workflows? How do we create skills? Skills are huge and they've changed my life. They're very important. How to create a custom skill, how to find skills and use them in your projects. And then our third session is expanding what Claude can do. So now we're using those things I talked about, sub agents, right? Using multiple agents to be able to do the work for you. So you're not just stuck to one model or one agent. And again, with token, when you do it in the way that you're doing in orchestration fashion, you're not using more tokens than you would with just one, or not much more, at least. And then our fourth session is about testing and shipping. So we're going to do QA loops, AI generated work, checkpoints, how to do session handoffs, GitHub, reusable kits, reusable files and folders, and really about like how do we ship it and how do we make it repeatable. And you can bring your projects into it. And since the group is going to be so small, we could really talk and help you individually on like what your specific case is. If you don't have a specific case yet, then we could talk about how to get you to that, to what you want to build, right? We can help you decide on that. And I gave you guys the link right there. We have offered $500 for the 4 weeks. You can pay
And that number, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in. $500, Rachel. That is like $500. I've paid $500, for a fraction of what you're offering here. So usually a class like this, I mean, I'm taking a cohort class with, for 6 weeks and paying $3,500. So I just want to emphasize and thank you for making this offer available, because I think it's an important course and class and skill set for people to start gaining, and that at that price point is really amazing. And I also, just for time's sake too, so if you are interested, again, this is for instructional design focus, but it's open to anybody who feels like they want to get into the gamification and understanding. But for Rachel and I, this course, this offer here kind of bounced off, and maybe Rachel, we want to share with everybody about Women Who Build, because we know the model that we just shared with you, it works. Because we've already been running a very successful group called Women Build and Women Who Build. And this group has been running for, we're coming up on 6 weeks now. We've got, we've got 15 people in this session, in this cohort. And we are basically supporting women who have been building apps, but they just couldn't get it to market. So we took and created an accountability program. And this is what Rachel's sharing with you. This is the platform that we use to support everybody in building their go-to-market strategy. And the feedback that we've been getting has just been tremendous. So we're kind of expanding what we're doing with Women Build AI. And we do have open enrollment here as well. If you are not an instructional designer and you have an app or a product that you're ready to get to market and just want, again, that additional support and accountability, reach out to us. And we're happy to share with you and have a one-on-one conversation. So 2 programs. The one you're looking at right now has been launched and successful, and we're inviting women who build an app ready to go to market. Join us. But if you are newer to building and want to continue to learn in a smaller cohort session, committed group of people, you can go back to the link that you shared earlier, Rachel.
Where did I put it?
I think it's that one.
We
All good.
lost it.
We lost it, but we want to offer that to you as well. It's all good.
There it is.
This one.
And I put the link to this one in the chat, guys. I will also put a link to womenwhobuild.app if you want to look at our landing page.
And with that, let's open it up for questions, Q&A.
Yes, any questions? I know we made it to one, so if anybody wants to hang out and ask questions, we're totally game.
I know as a project manager, I always like to start on time and end on time.
I have a super quick question on assets. Really quick, I know that you mentioned the model. I don't remember which one you mentioned. You created the assets halfway through after kind of already brainstorming the nature of what the game you wanted to create, or like when was the design process came into play for you?
That's a good question. And that's kind of like a different type of framework, right? I gave you guys Emma, but like, what about the process of actually designing it? And so when I'm creating a project, the first thing I do is I go to my chat GPT, I tell it what I'm thinking, and then we kind of have a conversation, basically. We talk about how is this good from an instructional design process? Like what do you think will work? What do you think won't work? These are my ideas based on what we did, based on the materials. Sometimes I give it some materials and we go back and forth until I feel like I have something that I really like. From there, it starts to be like, okay, now we start planning and I start making my files. And sometimes I make them in ChatGPT and I say, give me a starter folder. I'll do that a lot and it'll do basically what I did for you guys, except what I did for you guys is very heavily detailed. You would still have to detail more, but you can start with ChatGPT, talk to it, create that idea, what you want, tell it to create you a starter project with the Claude.md. Go to your Claude Code and start building it. Now, when you do that, now that's when you start talking about design. So I mean, it can be a real jump scare when you start and you don't have the assets. And I like to start with the design idea of like what I'm actually building before I create the assets. Because I need to have an idea of like, what is this? What do I need? What assets do I need? What vibe do I want? And sometimes it doesn't work and I have to go back and forth. But my point being though, what you start with, what it gives you before you make those assets, it's going to be terrifying. It's going to be very scary. Claude Code is not great with design just from itself. Like, I mean, you might make something kind of cool, but your assets are going to be off. Your environment's going to be off. It's not going to look that pretty. But it's a good place to start. And then from there, that's when I get into the actual building the assets. And I usually go to like ChatGPT to make my images, or Gemini, Google, or Kai.ai is really good. It gives you all those like AI generative things in one place, which is really neat. But yeah.
Gotcha. That's helpful. Thank you.
All right, we are at time. If there's anybody has any last questions before we start shutting this conversation down.
I had a quick question, but actually Rachel just answered most of the things I wanted to ask. So one more question about a design process. So when you are creating those assets, like the characters and the environment, the background, and the dialogue, what do you think are some of the elements you have in mind when it comes to make it customizable? That you wanted to make it to be able to be reused?
So, and I'm hoping I answer your question. So basically, it's a really good point. If I go to my speaking workshop here, and I go to the materials page you're looking at, and we go down here to like prompt card. Is that where I have it? Might be. Let's see. So what I do is I create an image. I'll say like, create me a girl hero. And I put it in Claude Code. And sometimes it'll be like 10 times the size it should be, or really small, or just kind of weird looking. And then I have to go back and I either have to go tweak it from the root issue of like ChatGPT making it, or I just have Claude tweak it, depending whether it's like a size thing, I have Claude tweak it. And I say, wow, too big, make it smaller, make it the size of this, da da da. And we go back and forth and we tweak. Then what I do is say, okay, now I don't want to have to go through this every time I make an avatar, right? So now what I need you to do is reverse engineer what we just did. Make me a prompt, and then I can put that prompt, I can give it to ChatGPT or Kai or whatever with those guidelines and those rules embedded in it. And that time, when it makes me an avatar, it'll make it to what I need to. And I could also, if it's more of a Claude Code thing, then I say like, hey, remember and make sure that every avatar is this size. Also, make me a prompt that I could reuse in Claude Code over and over. So basically that prompt should be able to be reused in ChatGPT or Claude Code, whatever AI you're using. But I always have it make me a prompt after I've made something I really like so that I can recall it again and again.
All right.
Did that help? Did that make any sense?
That's very helpful.
Awesome. All right, folks. Well, listen, I am just really excited that you were able to join us and willing to commit to being with us on a Sunday. That means a lot to Rachel and me. And we're going to end our call here, but there is opportunity to stay engaged with us. If you're interested in learning more and you need just a little quick, one-on-one Zoom with Rachel or myself, the link is available. We're happy to set up a quick call if you want to learn more. But September 8th, I think would be a great opportunity. There's only 6 spots left. So hopefully, if you see value in it, then sign up and join. With that, we'll end our call here. Thank you so much for joining.